Mr. Mercer, would you please read the statement to bring us back into open session?
Be glad to. Chair Swigert, I move that the record shows that the only items discussed in the closed meeting were those specifically cited in the motion to convene into the closed meeting and those lawfully exempted from statutory meeting requirements.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Lamonia. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with all board members present voting yes.
Dr. Crum, do you have any items resulting from closed session?
No items from me, Madam Chair.
We'll now move on to the invocation and the pledge of allegiance to the flag. At this time, I'll call upon Reverend Mark McCone-Sweet from St. Thomas Episcopal Church, who will give the oath of invocation. Afterward, I'll ask Alyssa Jones, a fifth grader from G.H. April Elementary, to lead us in the pledge. Please stand as you are able.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board and representative schools and all these amazing students, including our fifth grader. Today, I want to recognize that today, for our Jewish brothers and sisters, this is a high holiday for them. It's the day of Yom Kippur, which is a day of atonement, reflecting on the year past, and therefore an opportunity in their tradition to reflect upon how they may change going forward in the year ahead. In particular, it's an opportunity, as one translation says, to wipe the slate clean, and suggesting that perhaps the mistakes or sins they've made need to be taken into account so they can live a more fully godly life. Perhaps we should take that into account ourselves this evening, all of us as citizens of this city. Please bow your heads as you're able. Let us take a moment to reflect on our own lives. Let us recall as leaders, whether we are young, middle-aged, or old, we are all leaders in this community. Let us embrace our vocation, in particular that of the school board, to lead by example, to teach by the example of humility, making amends and seeking forgiveness for our own actions and choices. None of us here today have fully loved every child, every youth, every teacher, every neighbor as God loves them. And yet, this school board, this city, and our community, we are entrusted to do just that. That is to love every child and youth provided to our care, to an environment that is safe enough for them to be curious, safe enough for them to discover, safe for them to reveal how God has created each of them to become. That is God's will, not our own. And to create and commit to a safe space for that they may stand tall, and that through the power of love and through the work entrusted to the board and then passed on to administrators and teachers alike, that each child, each youth will stand tall, look up, and discover that they, each and every one of them, is unique, beautiful, and loved by God. May this board and those assembled here this evening honor our commitment to that love. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, of liberty and justice for all.
Thank you to Reverend McCone-Sweet and Alyssa for joining this evening. Thank you for being here. The next item on the agenda is the VHSL 22-23 Spring Champions. Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Chair Swigert. Tonight we are recognizing several Chesapeake champions. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Kevin Cole, our Supervisor of Athletics and Facility Use, to the podium to facilitate these awards. I'll also ask Chair Swigert and Dr. Cotton to meet me at the awards table.
Madam Chair, members of the school board, Dr. Cotton, and members of the superintendent's staff. Good evening. Tonight we're here to recognize Chesapeake champions for the Virginia High School League Spring 2023 season in the sports of baseball, softball, soccer, and tennis. As a reminder to parents, we are photo friendly. Please feel free to move forward and get that perfect picture. At this time, would our Group 1 students please come forward to be recognized? Chesapeake Public Schools had a number of spring athletes in the 2023 season that were selected first team All-State or finished first or second in an individual state tournament. Braden Bachman from Hickory High School was selected to the 5A first team as an outfielder in the sport of baseball. With him tonight is Coach Hank Kraft. Juliana Kellogg from Grassfield High School was selected to the 6A first team as a second baseman in the sport of softball. With her tonight is Coach Leroy Bowen. Jacqueline Hasty from Western Branch High School was selected to the 6A first team as a catcher in the sport of softball. With her tonight is Coach Sarah Ray. Callie Majero from Hickory High School was selected to the 5A first team as a catcher in the sport of softball, and with her tonight is Coach Shane Smith. Quinn Thompson from Great Bridge High School was selected to the 4A first team as a third baseman in the sport of softball, and with her tonight is Coach Kirk Clayton. Evan Rinkus from Hickory High School was selected to the 5A first team as a forward in the sport of boys soccer. Cade Childress from Hickory High School was selected to the 5A first team for the defensive position in the sport of boys soccer. Michael Orlando from Hickory High School was selected to the 5A first team as an at-large selection in the sport of boys soccer. With them tonight is their coach, Mike Giori. Aubrey Orrock from Great Bridge High School was selected to the 4A first team as a forward in the sport of girls soccer. Sophie Branch from Great Bridge High School was selected to the 4A first team as an at-large selection in the sport of girls soccer. Hannah Zychek from Great Bridge High School was selected to the 4A first team for the defensive position in the sport of girls soccer. With them tonight is their coach, Micah Moyer. Kayla Kennedy from Great Bridge High School competed in the 4A girls tennis tournament and placed second in the individual state championship. Kayla also competed in the 4A doubles tournament and placed second in the doubles state championship. Chase London from Great Bridge High School competed in the 4A girls tournament and placed second in the doubles state championship. And with them tonight is their coach, Andrea McChesney. At this time, would the Chesapeake champions please move to your right to meet the board? Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Cole. We will now move on to the hearing of citizens. During their allotted time, speakers should observe our rules of decorum and know that expressions of concerns and criticisms on matters of school policy and operations is welcome. While the speaker's own comments are welcome, they may not play pre-recorded messages. Dr. Smith, are there any citizens who have requested time to speak this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 4 citizens requesting to speak.
I want to thank those speakers who have signed up to address the board this evening. There are 2 ways the citizens can request time to speak. You can call the clerk's office before 12 noon the day of the meeting, or sign up to speak prior to the start of the meeting. All in-person requests must be submitted to the deputy clerk 5 minutes prior to the published meeting start time. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your allotted time is over, we ask that you promptly exit the podium. You may choose to sit in the boardroom if seats are available, but standing or sitting on the floor will not be permitted, and you may not block the exit doors. We would also like to ask that you refrain from any behavior that disrupts the meeting, including the use of profanity, applause, cheering, or jeering. Dr. Smith, please call the first speaker.
Yes, I'd like to invite speaker number 1 to the podium. If you'll state your name and city of residence before you begin. Speakers 2, 3, and 4, we have space right up front if you'll come to the front row.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Eason Williams. I live in Chesapeake, and I am here to encourage the teachers. Well, teachers, look at you. You are hanging in there, aren't you? Of course you are. In spite of ups and downs, slips and dips, you are still holding on, shooting your best shot, although sometimes you have to quickly pivot to your backup plan just in case your best plan that you worked on for hours had to be placed on hold because your students just didn't get it. But look at you, holding your head up high, sticking your chest out, and putting on your I can handle this face. And the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth is you can handle whatever comes your way. Yes, there are times when students, parents, and even some administrators forget that you have a life outside of the classroom. But your number one job is to remember that you do have a life beyond those little red brick structures. So please, don't forget to remember to take care of yourself by any means necessary. Thank you.
Speaker number 2, it's your turn at the podium. Please state your name and city of residence before you begin.
Hi, I'm Robin Osborne. I'm here to continue in the fight to remove the Satan Club from meeting in any of our Chesapeake public schools. I know when the majority of you hear my name called to come to the podium, you're thinking, when are you going to let this go, Robin? I've spoken before you as a board many times. I've tried to contact the mayor, the chairman of the Republican Party here locally, to see if it would be possible to get a referendum on the upcoming ballot for citizens to vote on. I've contacted school principals, an attorney for support and ideas, pastors in the area, the Liberty Council, the head of the Good News Club, and a local pastor who is willing to discuss the possibility of hosting the club after school. Have I hit more brick walls than open doors? I have. But that's when I repeatedly seek God's will and ask Him if I am wrong. Should I let it go? The fact that having a Satan Club meet in our elementary school should appall each and every one of us. And God's word tells us not to give the enemy a foothold. Those are the two answers I continue to receive. That I must be steadfast. But I don't understand how quickly you were able to drop this, voting no to having Dr. Cotton and his team classify the clubs, renaming them, or adding amendments of change. Please let it not be out of fear, maybe fear of being sued, and I mean no disrespect to the school board attorney. Fear of a former ruling of the Supreme Court. Perhaps it is time for the Supreme Court to revisit that ruling based on how the world has changed in the last 20 years. As a nation, our morals have declined greatly. The educational curriculum, SEL, the gender identity push being implemented in our schools, the filthy textbooks that are now available in our school libraries, the lack of faith and righteousness, COVID, lockdowns, and depression in our children have led them astray and away from hope. I implore you again this evening to regroup as a school board and find a way to keep the Satan Club from meeting in our schools. I truly believe it could be accomplished by having the Good News Club meet elsewhere after school and/or block the Satan Club based on certain safety issues. The school system has recently increased school security officers, provided ID badges for our students, and have parent alert systems set up to communicate with them. But I ask again, what about the protection of their spiritual health, safety, and welfare? Vulnerable children in these clubs are being taught lies. Ask yourselves what you want to be remembered for as an elected Chesapeake school board members for such a time as this is the most important and vital issue that will ever come across your desks. Remember, all things are possible with God, and He tells us not to fear man. And therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. Thank you.
Speaker number 3, it's your turn at the podium. Please state your name and city of residence before you begin.
I have some paperwork to be put on record as well as for each of the school board members. Where should I? Okay. Jennifer Herget, Yorktown, COVID vaccines. Is anyone here aware of the Pfizer documents for the COVID-19 vaccine? I've personally spoken with 5 doctors and they were unaware. The FDA tried to have the documents sealed for 75 years until 2096. A Texas judge ordered the release and the first set came out on March 1st, 2021. I'm a strong supporter of informed consent. There are 9 pages of adverse reactions that were known by February 28, 2021, over 2 years ago. 9 pages, there are approximately 40 autoimmune diseases. Should your immune system be compromised, your body can't protect itself properly. Has anyone here heard about the hepatitis outbreak in children? 6 different types of hepatitis are listed in these 9 pages. Not being talked about is shingles, also called herpes zoster. I know of 5 people that have gotten shingles. 2 of them are in their 20s, and doctors said it was because of stress, but they have not been given this information. This normally occurs in people over 50. Maybe a weakened immune system. Over 50 types of herpes are in these 9 pages. To find these adverse events in the Pfizer documents, go to www.phmpt.org. Click on Pfizer documents, put 5.3.6 in the search bar for the adverse reactions, and go to pages 30 to 38. This is only for side effects known as of February 28, 2021. I was forwarded a letter from a doctor in reference to the COVID-19 injection. All doctors in the state of Virginia received this letter, which states that doctors recommend the COVID injection. I believe it is important that parents have informed consent. It is also important to note that not only did Pfizer have to be sued to release their data, so did Moderna. The CDC had to be sued twice to release their own vSafe data. Out of approximately 10 million vSafe users, over 7.7% had a health event requiring medical attention, emergency room intervention, and/or hospitalization, and another 25% were unable to perform normal activities. Before the COVID-19 jabs were rolled out, if you were 19 or younger, your risk of dying of COVID-19 was 0.0003%. Only 3 in 1 million infected with COVID-19 at this age ended up dying. The average age of death in the UK from COVID-19 in 2021 was 82.5 years old, the same as in the US. Everyone deserves informed consent prior to getting vaccinated or vaccinating their children or any family member. My daughter is vaccine injured and she did not get informed consent. Our government and the media are not giving the information to make an informed decision, so it's up to we the people. The Greek word for sorcery is pharmakia, where we got the word pharmaceutical. Revelation 18:23, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Our rights are given to us by God, not our government.
Thank you. This concludes our speakers for this evening.
Wait.
Oh, I apologize. Speaker number 4, come on up.
Philip Grecki, Chesapeake. Wow, that was chilling. I'd like to continue on that, but I actually brought something else to attention. I'm not trying to be a vigilante within the school system and just nitpick. I know there's plenty of issues to discuss. I'm bringing one up my 7th grader brought to me. It is a lesson in language arts about identifying types of conflict. And it says, match the following real-world conflicts with the correct conflict types. It says, 9 killed in shooting at Black church in Charleston. The options are character versus character, character versus society, character versus nature, character versus technology, character versus supernatural, and character versus self. My son chose character versus character, which makes sense because someone walked into a church and killed somebody, and somebody was affected by that. The answer was character versus society. Now, I understand with our country's background that this could be a social studies question, maybe with a paragraph with some context, because obviously our country, racism is deep in our past and, may still be around today. But with no context, no paragraph that he read before, he reads 9 killed in shooting at Black church in Charleston. And I'm just wondering, what is the context and who is making the question to where I don't see that is an appropriate, just out of the blue characterization to pick out. I just think this is like a deep-rooted thing. The racism and division in this country is just being pushed so heavily. And, I'm not going to come up here with a solution, because honestly, the only solution I can offer is to teach my kids good character and have good character myself. But the problem with something like this is that the children in this school system that don't have somebody to teach them good character, this just breeds hate. And it's a little ridiculous. I imagine you guys aren't writing these online quizzes, but somebody is, along with somebody somewhere Richmond or somewhere nearby here that is putting down all this hate and division on us. They also put down and made people that wanted to play sports get a experimental vaccine. So a lot of things are coming down, and I know in my last speech I said that we could make a change here locally. It turns out the school board has a pretty amount of pull on a lot of things I didn't realize until I got involved in all this stuff. But definitely you guys are going to have to make a decision on what the history is going to be written, because things are out of control in Washington. Seems like Governor Youngkin's trying to fix things in Richmond. I'm not a politician or an expert on this, but this is just one example of what's being pushed in our communities. All I can say is to the parents out there, it may seem like, Phil's just up here complaining. See you next week. Have a good one.
And this concludes our speakers for this evening.
Thank you for sharing your comments. Our practice is to receive information. However, we do not usually engage in dialogue, and that is our intent tonight. If appropriate and not already provided, someone from the superintendent's staff will evaluate your concern and provide a response. We will now move on to the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Mr. Lamonia. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McCormick. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Dr. Smith.
Motion carries with all board members present voting yes.
We are now moving on to the information agenda. The first item is the monthly financial report. Ms. Lucente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have 2 memos in your packet. One is related to June 30th of 2023, which is the unaudited FY 22-23, and the other one is related to the current fiscal year. We'll go over the 22-23 one first. As you probably are aware, at the end of the year, we have what we call a reversion, funds that go back to the city. And the board generally makes a request to have them reappropriated. Our estimated reversion, which will be either verified or modified by the external audit, is expected to be about $5.3 million. Of that, 5.1 is revenue, that's excess revenue, and $126,802 is expenditure savings. Pardon me. Also, during the May board meeting, there was a request to authorize the administration to make up to $9 million worth of transfers between programs. The actual amount of the transfer was 9.355, so I'm going to need an amended authorization for that transfer request. Of the excess revenue, the state revenues did come in short, as we expected, so the excess revenue is largely the result of local revenue from an insurance claim and additional federal funds that came in from Impact Aid, Medicare, Medicaid, and Department of Defense funds. The expenditure savings are what was net after all the adjustments and over-expenditure to budget on non-personnel costs and savings from personnel. So what normally happens is the board will make a request at some point for council to reappropriate those funds back to the division. We're not recommending a use of that now. For the last couple of years, we've been doing that with the budget, so it will probably come forward sometime in February as part of that whole budget process. So for right now, just for the FY 22-23, I'm requesting action to modify the authorization for budget transfers from $9 million to $9,355,000.
And you need a vote on that today?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mercer. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. McCormick. Is there any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Dr. Smith?
Motion carries with all board members present voting yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second memo deals with the current fiscal year, the months of July and August. Mostly that's 11 and 12-month salaries. There's a good deal of non-personnel costs that come through at that point. We received about $87 million. Most of that, almost equally, is from the city and the state. We won't really start doing projections with your September report that will come at the end of October. We'll have an idea of what the state revenues might look like, plus we may have some information on the additional General Assembly budget funds and what will happen with that. So until student enrollment, which is a little bit low right now, not largely low like 2021, I think it was, but it is a little bit low, it will affect our revenues, probably to the similar range that we've had in 22-23. But you'll get more information about that when we come back in October for the September financials. But other than that, nothing looks abnormal at this point. But I'll have more projections for September, the September report in October. And that's all I have.
I see no questions, so we will move on to the next information agenda item, which is legislative agenda items, and Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Chair Swigert. In board docs this evening, you will find the proposed legislative agenda items for the 2024 General Assembly session. We've provided you with 3 top priorities for this year's session, as well as items that our board and staff that our staff support and items we oppose. Please let me know if you have any suggestions or changes before we move forward with finalizing the booklet. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I'm open to any feedback.
Dr. Smith, would you share with the board the timeline that you're looking for feedback?
Absolutely. We're going to plan to have the proposed draft ready for your approval at the next meeting.
See no questions at this time. So the next item is the assessment and accreditation results. Ms. Edwards.
Good evening, Chairman Swiger, Vice Chair Mercer, members of the board, Dr. Cotton, and staff. Dr. Melissa Oliver, our Director of Assessment and Accountability, was unable to be here tonight to share this presentation that she expertly prepared. So I'm here this evening to give you and our community our 23-24 accreditation results based on student achievement for the 22-23 school year. The current state accreditation system uses 6 indicators to assess school performance and determine accreditation ratings. Each indicator has established benchmarks to determine whether schools achieve a level 1, 2, or 3 performance on that indicator. The Academic Achievement English indicator includes reading tests for all students in grades 3 through 8 and 11, and writing tests for students in grades 8 and 11. The benchmark for level 1 performance in English is 75% passing of this test. The state also calculates English pass rates for students who are Asian, Black, Hispanic, white, of multiple races, for students who are economically disadvantaged, English language learners, and as well for our students with disabilities. Each of these student subgroups must also achieve a 75% pass rate to earn a level 1 performance, and subgroup performance levels are combined to determine the Achievement Gap English performance level group. Students in grades 3 through 8 take math assessments every spring. High school students must take at least 1 math test during their high school career as well. The level 1 performance benchmark for math is 70% of students passing the tests. The Achievement Gap indicator for math is calculated the same way as the English Achievement Gap, using the student subgroups that I just mentioned, but with a level 1 benchmark being 70. Science tests are administered to students in grades 5, 8, and high school. The level 1 benchmark for science is also 70, like it is for math, but there are some additional challenges for science. Science tests cover material learned across multiple grade levels. So, for example, students taking the 5th grade tests for science are being asked questions of content from 4th and 5th grade. and students taking the 8th grade science tests are asked questions from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Additionally, the science calculations do not account for student growth the way that English and math do. The Level 2 benchmark for all subjects is 65% or more of students passing. And finally, the chronic absenteeism indicator is the only accreditation indicator that is not tied to SOL results. The chronic absentee indicator gives the percentage of students who were absent for 10% or more of the days they were enrolled in school. So, for example, for a school to attain a Level 1 benchmark, they have to have had no more than 15% of their students chronically absent. So in other words, at least 85% of their students have to be present 90% of the days that they are enrolled. Our high schools are held accountable for 3 additional cohort-based indicators. The first one is Graduation and Completion Index, or GCI, and it's a weighted graduation measure. It assigns 100 points for students who earn a diploma by the end of their 4th year of high school, partial credit for students who earn a GED or who remain in school to finish the following year, but no points to students who exit high school without either earning a degree or a GED. The Level 1 performance for the GCI is 88 or higher. I am proud to say that all of our high schools meet the Level 1 benchmark. The Level 1 benchmark for dropout rate is 6%, or 6% or less of your graduating cohort. Again, all of our high schools meet this criteria as well. And the College Career and Civic Readiness Index, or CCCRI, was a new indicator for the class of 2023 this year. To meet the Level 1 performance criteria for the CCCRI, at least 85% of the students in the class of 2023 must have experienced one of these milestones during their high school tenure. They could have passed an advanced placement AP or International Baccalaureate IB or dual enrollment course. They could have completed a career and technical education course sequence or 3 years of junior ROTC, passing a credential exam, participated in a work-based learning experience such as an internship or school-based enterprise, or completed a service learning experience. So as you can see, this is a new and very rigorous requirement. Our departments of curriculum and instruction and college and career readiness have worked tirelessly for several years in preparation to ensure that all of our students have the opportunity and the encouragement needed to participate in these experiences. We've added courses, we've added work-based learning experiences, and we've even adjusted the core curriculum for our high school students. I am proud to say that these efforts have paid off, along with the efforts, of course, of our schools and our students, and every high school met the Level 1 benchmark for this new and very rigorous requirement. But even better than all of our students attaining a Level 1, all of our students have been exposed to additional opportunities to prepare them for college, career, and citizenship, because that's our real goal. Schools with any one of the 9 indicators that I just mentioned below standard cannot earn the status of accredited. So, you may recall from previous presentations that there are 3 potential designations: accredited, accredited with conditions, and accreditation denied. I'm pleased to share that 93% of our schools have attained the highest accreditation designated possible, and that is accredited. Truett Intermediate and Rena B. Wright Primary were accredited with conditions due to science performance and Rena B. Wright's chronic absenteeism. Oscar Smith Middle was accredited with conditions due to science and English performance. So now I'd like to take a moment and just share how our schools performed on each of the accreditation indicators that I just mentioned. The first one is academic English. 93% of our schools earned the top performance level in academic achievement English. Truett and Rena B. Wright missed the level 1 benchmark by 1 point. 1 point. And Oscar Smith Middle scored in the level 2 range, but was designated a level 3 due to a longitudinal accreditation rule. And only 2 of our schools used a 3-year average to accomplish this goal. 96% of our school used current school year data only. That is celebration worthy. I mentioned earlier that reading and writing tests are included in the English indicator, and as you can see here, Chesapeake surpasses the state in both reading and math. You can also see that students perform better on the reading component than on the writing, which is only administered at 8th grade and 11th grade. And this year, in an effort to integrate literacy instruction, the state has eliminated for this year the 8th grade writing SOL tests and added an integrated reading and writing test at 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade. We know that this change will impact future middle school English pass rates. So 76% of our schools earned the highest performance rating for the Achievement Gap English indicator, and no schools were below standard or level 3. Our school, we identified as an area of need for our schools, middle school students with disability in writing. That's an area we've worked really hard on. We have been addressing this area of need throughout the year, and our efforts have resulted in significant improvement. Last year, 8 of our middle schools, 8 out of 10, were designated as a level 3 for students with disabilities in English. This year, not only have we cut that number from 8 to 1, but 8 of the middle schools were recognized for reducing that failure rate by more than 10%. So that is a major accomplishment. So while this is a notable improvement, we're continuing to still work in this area for this year. Shifting to math performance, 100%, that's 100% of our students met the top performance for math, and none of our schools had to use a 3-year average to attain that level 1 benchmark. This is extremely impressive. One of our schools attained a 100% accreditation pass rate in math, and what that means is that every single student in the building passed or exhibited significant measurable growth in math. That's amazing. And to add to that, the school that accomplished this remarkable feat is Norfolk Highlands Primary, a Title I school, and we're very proud of them. Chesapeake's raw pass rate in math exceeds that of the state, but it also exceeds the level 1 accreditation benchmark for pass rates with growth. So not only are our overall pass rates high, but our achievement gaps among subgroups are exceptionally low. 98% of our schools met the top performance level for math. All schools met the level 1 benchmark for every subgroup in math, with the exception of students with disability, and that, of course, continues to be an area of focus for us. Additionally, every subgroup outperformed every subgroup in the state. So while nearly 80% of our schools are in the top performance category for science, including every Chesapeake high school, there are still a small number of schools in the level 3 area. Both of the schools in a level 2 reduced the failure rate by at least 10%, and 93% of our schools relied on the current test year only. It's also important to remember the differences I mentioned earlier in how science is tested, how it is administered, and how the pass rates are calculated. Science tests, remember, are only administered in the 5th grade, 8th grade, and high school, but they cover content in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, regardless of whether those students received their instruction in Chesapeake at the time. So students are tested on material that was presented as much as 3 years prior. Additionally, the formula for calculating the pass rate in science is different. Student growth and multiple factors related to English learners do not take into account these calculations for science. But regardless of the differences in the content combination, and regardless of the pass rate calculations, it is our responsibility and our commitment to improve these results. The majority of the schools not meeting the level 1 benchmark in science were elementary schools. So we've identified elementary science as a major area of focus for us this year. This year we'll be using Mastery Connect to provide district-wide through-year monitoring in elementary school. And then this will ensure that all students will be engaged in well-aligned common assessments, and it will allow teachers, principals, and content supervisors to review aggregate and individual student performance, which will guide instruction, enrichment, and remediation. Fifth graders will also use our Mastery Connect program to take mock SOL tests in April so that we still know what we have to work on prior to SOL testing. And as you can see, we're still performing well above the rest of the state in science, but we still know we have work to do there. Chronic absenteeism continues to be an area of concern. Early last year, our community was still fighting RSV, the flu, COVID, and everything else. Since excused and unexcused absences are tallied in the chronic absenteeism rates, these illnesses, along with our need for students to stay home when they are sick, hurt our rates. As we tracked chronic absenteeism earlier in the year, at least a quarter of our schools were at a level 3. As the contagions dissipated, our chronic absentee rates rebounded. And our schools have gone above and beyond in identifying and implementing strategies to improve student attendance. Barring future community health concerns, we believe that these strategies will continue to return our chronic absenteeism rates to pre-pandemic levels. And as with all of the academic accreditation indicators, Chesapeake's chronic absenteeism rate also outperforms the state. Our rate of 13% exceeds the level 1 benchmark, while the state falls within a level 2 criteria. While history scores are not accounted for in the accreditation ranges, we still focus on history and social science. Those content-specific tests are administered at 5th grade and 6th grade, and once again, our SOL scores are higher than the state's. So, as you've seen in my previous slides, Chesapeake compares favorably to the state in every subject, but I'd like to take just a moment and show you how we compare to ourselves. We've heard a lot about learning loss lately, and it is a very real concern. Test scores throughout the city, the state, and the country were lower when students returned from COVID than they were before this disruption. We were no exception. It's taken a lot of effort, extra effort on the part of our teachers and administrative teams to ensure student success post-COVID. I'm pleased to report that staff and student efforts to overcome learning loss has shown in our data. 8 Chesapeake Public Schools earned the Exemplar Performance Award from the Virginia Department of Education. Now let me stop for a moment and say this is not an award that you apply for. The state evaluates your data, and then they award schools accordingly. So we're specifically proud of this award because this happened during the COVID years. 8 schools. Hickory High School earned the highest achievement award based on their 21-22 scores. Camelot, Greenbrier Intermediate and Primary, Truett Intermediate, Rena B. Wright Primary, Western Branch Intermediate, and Western Branch Primary earned the Continuous Improvement Award for their significant achievement gains for all 3 years spanning COVID. Again, that's not something we apply for, that's something the state recognizes, so we're very proud of that. Division-wide pass rates in every subject has also risen since the pandemic. Math pass rates division-wide have increased nearly 20 points in the past 2 years. And this is also important to note. The red line on the screen represents the benchmark for level 1 accreditation, 75 in English and 70 in math and science. During COVID, the state waived accreditation for all schools. However, you can see here that we fell below the top performance benchmark in all subject areas during COVID. That's not a surprise. But now, not only have we made great gains in pass rates since our decline, but we've brought our scores back above the top of the benchmarks. We're especially proud of our teachers, students, and administrators and support staff for all that they accomplished last year, and we're looking forward to continued growth and achievement. So as we continue,
Ms. Edwards?
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
My
Just a
apologies.
question. I just was noticing what you were saying, and I know that we had some accreditation with Warning, and two of them were Rena B. Wright and Truett. But at the same time, did I hear you right that they still showed progression? They were going up.
That is correct,
You know,
and
that's-
they were not accredited with warning, it's accredited with conditions.
I'm sorry,
Which,
credited
that's
with
okay.
condition. I know they've changed the terminology.
That's all right, but that
Been
just
on here long
means-
enough, they've changed words left
And
and
if
right
you
every
sit there,
year.
they'll change them again.
Yeah,
Sit
I'm
there
sure they
long
will,
enough.
but maybe I won't see it. Anyway, I think that's laudable, you know, and
Absolutely.
something we need to really realize, that even these two schools where there's some struggle have continued to go up. You know, one of the things that especially the newspaper has done is lauded the increase in certain scores of some of our neighboring cities. But I think the thing you have to look at, they were so far down that anywhere they had to go up at that
Absolutely.
particular point. Whereas Chesapeake, even in the midst of the pandemic, while we saw some learning loss, it was nowhere near the same numbers that were in other cities.
Correct.
And so I just think that needs to be brought up and needs to be applauded, that even during the worst of the pandemic, our teachers were and our students were doing a heck of a job of trying to maintain in some difficult situations.
Yeah.
As I know the greatest room in the world is a room for improvement, but we need to celebrate that.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate you bringing that to our attention, and that's why we wanted you, our community, to hear that tonight, because the benchmarks are 75 and 70, and what that means is if you make a 74, you didn't make it. So you're right. To be recognized for continuous improvement throughout the 3 COVID years is definitely celebratory.
But it's just
worthy.
amazing that those two schools that you mentioned, I know there are 3 of them, but those 2 schools in particular got a commendation because of improvements that they made that were beyond the pale of other schools.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can write this any way you want to, and newspapers and politicians like to write it to their advantage.
Thank you.
But the word here is that things are moving up.
Well, and that's why I choose to write it tonight, that we're doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
but we haven't arrived, but it's, you know, I don't want the headline tomorrow to be Chesapeake slips, because that's not the
Not at
word
all.
here.
Not at
The
all.
word is that we're continuing on an upward progression.
Yes.
Okay.
We're very proud of the efforts of our school, and we're not resting there. We're still pushing on. So in conclusion, as we continue our growth and achievement over the coming years, the state accreditation process will be undergoing significant changes. As Reverend Mercer said, these things come in cycles, and you can anticipate some future changes. As usual, this year's student achievement data will be used to determine next year's accreditation status. However, there are likely to be even more accreditation changes on the horizon that I just wanted to mention to you, because we'll be letting you know as we hear about those things. These changes will be items that are certainly within the State Board of Education's authority to change. Examples of items for possible change that they're actually discussing now in their work sessions are what indicators will be used for accreditation, how school performance on any indicator is calculated, the benchmarks that determine school performance, and more. Any adjustments made on our next accreditation determinations will likely move us in the direction of much larger changes the following year, so we're starting the preparation now. The state's accreditation system will receive a complete overhaul after this year. So the next system will be bifurcated to measure compliance to our state laws and regulations, as well as student performance. These changes will entail adjustments beyond the board's control and will require legislative action, so stay tuned for that. The compliance component, which is ensuring that we're meeting instructional, staffing, and other requirements, will be called the accreditation part in the new system. And the student and school performance measures, or the outcomes, will be called accountability. So you'll actually be looking at two types of measures. One way to think about this is that accreditation measures the input, what we're doing as a school division to ensure student success, and accountability will measure the outputs of student performance. There may be changes such as a performance index instead of a pass rate on SOL scores. These are topics that they're currently discussing. In a performance index, different weights can be assigned to bands of student performance instead of simply reporting the percentage of students who passed. This rewards schools that are improving student achievement, not just where students are, but considering even improvement of our highest achievement students, and this current system does not do that. The new system will likely separate achievement and growth to provide more transparency than we currently have with the combined pass rate. It may also have elementary, middle, and high school readiness indicators and an additional focus on preparing students for current in-demand careers. So the details of the upcoming accreditation and accounting system are being developed by the Virginia Department of Ed and State Board even as we speak. Their meetings, I just remind you, regarding the changes to the accreditation system are available live and on demand on VDOE's YouTube. And there will be multiple opportunities for community input. We will continue to prepare you, our teachers and our administrators and our students and our community for the changes that certainly are going to be coming in the near future. I know I've given you a lot to think about, and I thank you for your time and your attention. May I respond to any questions?
I see no questions, Ms. Edwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item is the Office of Student Conduct and Support update. Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Chair Swaggart, school board members. At this time, I would like to introduce our new Director of Student Support Services, Mr. Paul Wilson, and he's going to come forward for some information in regards to one of his departments. Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, and thank you, Chair Swaggart, Vice Chair Mercer, school board members, Dr. Cotton, and Superintendent's Cabinet. Tonight, I would like to introduce Dr. Brooke Rudis, the Assistant Director of the Office of Student Conduct and Support. Dr. Rudis will give you an overview of the training and new initiatives that OSCS is spearheading this year in an effort to cultivate school environments that are conducive to learning. The OSCS team has created 6 mini modules to serve as training and a reference point for school administration, and Dr. Rudis will provide information to you tonight about these modules. At this time, I present to you Dr. Rudis.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. This presentation tonight will provide information on the 6 areas of the Office of Student Conduct and Support that we've given particular attention to in an effort to align with our Empower 2025 goals. Annually, the Office of Student Conduct and Support offers training to our school administrators to address any mandated changes, to provide a comprehensive review of our policies and procedures on identified topics, and to elaborate on the details of new initiatives. Traditionally, our office has required administrators to attend this training in person at our school administration building. However, in lieu of our administrators being called away from their buildings, we have opted to provide 6 mini modules ranging in length from 3 to 9 minutes. Each module has an accompanying quiz. These modules will allow administrators to remain in their buildings, minimize the time required for the training, and provide evidence that they have participated in the training, as well as demonstrated mastery of the content. These modules will remain in our Canvas course throughout the school year for reference as specific issues arise. 4 of the 6 mini modules focus on training for threat assessments, bullying, restraints, and expulsion. Last year, we successfully revamped our threat assessment process to include revised forms, prescriptive interventions, and heightened supports for our threat assessment teams. As outlined in Policy and Regulation 9-51, a threat assessment must be conducted by a threat assessment team. This team convenes, and when a student is made a threat, A meeting is held to assess all available information. The team deliberates, and then a conclusion is made to evaluate the level of threat the student may pose. In our mini module, we review the process to ensure the procedures are consistently being implemented and interventions and supports are being provided. This year, a significant change in legislation mandates how we are required to report bullying. In accordance with the Code of Virginia 22.1-279.6, the principal or principal's designee shall notify the parent of any student involved in an alleged bullying incident within 24 hours of learning of the allegation of bullying. Our bullying module aligns with the Code of Virginia and the revisions to Policy 9-20 approved at the August 28, 2023 school board meeting to address the new time frame for reporting of alleged bullying incidents. This training outlines how to complete our revised bullying reporting forms to ensure we have properly documented compliance within the required time frame for notifications, as well as communicating the outcomes of investigations. Per Policy 9-56, school personnel may implement a physical restraint only in an emergency situation when other interventions are or would be ineffective in the reasonable judgment of school personnel. The Code of Virginia requires school divisions to have guidelines on the use of restraints. Our guidelines and required documentation remain the same this year. However, new for the 23-24 school year, administrators will be submitting this required documentation to our office. As you are aware, expulsion of a student may be imposed only by an act of the school board on the recommendation of the superintendent. Grounds for expulsion are the same as those for suspension, but expulsion may be applied only in more serious cases after all remedies have been considered. Our expulsion module reviews with administrators a more streamlined process for submitting expulsion documents. This process allows our office to review essential documents collected and ensure that timelines required by Policy and Regulation 9-21 have been met. 2 of the 6 mini modules focus on our initiative to address students who violate the drug and alcohol policy and reframing our in-school suspension program. Our Drug and Alcohol Prevention Program, or we call it DAP, is an expansion of our program to provide a more in-depth response for students who have been found for the first time to be under the influence, possess, or use drugs or alcohol while on school grounds or at a school function. Our next initiative is to reframe our in-school suspension model by providing professional development to our in-school suspension coordinators to increase their capacity to offer research-based interventions for the students they serve. We are excited about these 2 initiatives, and in the next few slides, I will go into more detail for both. Historically, Chesapeake Public Schools has taken a strong stance on students who possess, use, or distribute drugs or alcohol. For students who are first-time offenders of the drug and alcohol policy for possession, use, or being under the influence, a combination approach of suspension paired with counseling on the effects of the use of drugs and alcohol has been in effect for many years. Students were required to meet with the Office of Student Conduct and Support to sign a drug and alcohol contract and successfully complete requirements mandated by an outside agency. During the 22-23 school year, the Office of Student Conduct and Support became aware of the increasing need to assist families with meeting the requirements to engage with an outside agency for drug and alcohol prevention interventions. The outside agencies had inconsistent requirements, their services were costly to parents, and it became difficult to schedule. In response, the OSCS implemented an in-house drug and alcohol awareness course. This was offered twice weekly for 2 hours via Google Meet. Students were also required to attend a course offered by the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. While this met the needs of our students, we sought to expand the ability of our interventions. This led to the development of our new full-day drug and alcohol prevention program instructed by our OSCS counselors that we will begin this school year. While the DAP format is a new component, the requirement for the parent and student to meet with an OSCS counselor remains a pivotal part of the intervention process. In this meeting, the counselor addresses a drug or alcohol violation, as well as information on attendance, academic standing, and any behavior concerns. In addition, our drug and alcohol contract is reviewed and signed by both the student and parent. Each of these requirements, in addition to successfully completing the DAP, must be met for the student to return to school. New for the 23-24 school year, students receiving a first drug offense will spend 1 full day of their 5-day suspension at the Chesapeake Center for Student Success. This program is required for middle and high school students. Students in elementary school will serve their suspension and complete individualized requirements prescribed by OSCS. This full-day course will be held on Tuesdays and Thursdays from approximately 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at CCSS. This location was chosen purposely as a preventative measure, as likely a second offense will result in a long-term suspension and then an assignment to the CCSS program. Transportation will be provided for students who are participating in the program. High school students will ride their regular bus to their zoned school and then board the CCSS bus. Middle school students participating in the program will have the option to ride a high school bus from a designated bus stop to their local high school, where they will then board a CCSS bus. Parents will also have the option to transport their students to the DAP. While at CCSS, students will follow all school expectations and procedures, including dress code. At no time will the student be allowed to move unaccompanied throughout the building or interact with CCSS students. Cell phones will be turned in at the beginning of the day and returned at the end of the day. Upon arrival, students will follow a structured schedule, which will include a review of expectations and procedures, participation in behavior reflection activities and restorative circles, participation and completion of the drug and alcohol class, as well as the Virginia Teens in Law class. Individual school-based counseling sessions with the Student Engagement Resource Council will be available, and time is built in for students to address missing class assignments. Students must complete this program prior to returning to school from suspension. There will be no exceptions to these guidelines. Students who violate guidelines may be reassigned alternatively. New for the 23-24 school year, we look to reframe our in-school suspension program. In the spring of 2022, the MTSS leadership team identified ISS as a program with the capacity to impact students with discipline violations using tiered interventions. This reframing also aligns with Goal 3 of Empower 2025 strategic plan by providing a supportive environment to allow students the opportunity to be heard, taught, and guided on behavior infractions with the goal to increase positive behaviors. Through our initiatives to reframe ISS, when a student struggles with their behavior, the time in ISS will be utilized to reteach desired behaviors, identify needed supports, and provide interventions. This school year, we will be focusing on reframing our ISS program by developing division-wide consistency and expectations through PBIS, establishing academic and behavioral resources, and delivering effective professional development for our ISS coordinators throughout the school year. Prior to school starting, the Office of Student Content Support provided a full-day in-person training to our ISS coordinators. They were taught how to develop an effective structured schedule, principles of sharing expectations. They developed a PBI matrix and left the training with the skills to conduct intervention lessons to include restorative circles, behavior reflections and repair, as well as mindful minutes. Our ISS coordinators are also participating in the 4-day responsive classroom training and further training on each teacher workday to explore such topics as crisis intervention, mental health management, behavior supports, and conflict resolution. Additionally, we will host monthly meetings via Google Meet to conduct problems of practice discussions. ISS will now begin with a review of the daily schedule and class expectations. Students will then move to opening circle activities to help them build a culture of trust. Throughout the day, students will work to reflect on their behaviors and identify pathways for repair through both group and independent practices. Time will also be allotted throughout the day for students to work on their academics. The ISS day will be concluded with closing activities to refocus students for their successful return to their regular schedules. To support the reframing of the ISS initiative, the school optic and culture of the program needs to reflect the support of administrators and OSCS. All administrators are invited and encouraged to attend these trainings. Each school has a designated OSCS staff member to serve as a liaison, as well as to conduct routine visits to identify areas of grows and glows, to provide any needed support, and complete an evaluation tool to assess implementation fidelity. As we revamp ISS, we also need to think outside of the box on how we can use this program to improve discipline, academic performance, and attendance, One such way would be to consider the idea that if a student is suspended out of school for more than one day, at least one of those days may be served in the ISS program. This chart gives us a visual on how that might look. In summary, these trainings, presented as 6 mini-modules, were designed to offer training to our school administrators to address mandated changes to policy, to provide a comprehensive review of our policies and procedures on identified topics, and to elaborate on the details of new initiatives. We will monitor the effectiveness of these trainings. Data will be collected and analyzed. Evaluation tools have been developed to monitor the fidelity of our procedural practices and the new initiatives that are in place. We are optimistic that the modules will enhance our administrators' ability to ensure procedures are being implemented as prescribed by policy. Both the DAP and ISS initiatives are designed to increase positive behaviors by implementing research-based interventions. We anticipate a reduction in students engaging in a second violation of the drug and alcohol policy and the need for students to be assigned out-of-school suspension. This work would not be possible without our dedicated team. Joining us tonight are our student engagement counselors, Priscilla Boggs, Robin Cleary, Santina Riviera, Aaron Russell, sorry, Meredith Sargel, Tawana Fortune is our supervisor of student supports, and Jane Marie Wick is our supervisor of student conduct. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your attention and time. Are there any questions?
I don't see any questions. Thank you, Dr. Rudis.
Thank you.
And thank you to your team for being with us tonight. The last item on the information agenda is the transportation update. Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Chair Swaggart. And I was trying to make Mr. Paul Wilson introduce him so he can get his feet wet in front of the board. And so now another person who's going to get their feet wet is Mr. Herbert Bird, who is in for Dr. Benson this evening, who is not feeling well. So I appreciate Mr. Bird coming forward. He's going to be sharing with you the success of the first week of school, the status of the ID program, the parent app, and much more. Mr. Bird.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Good evening, Chair Swaggart, board members, Dr. Cotton, and staff. We are here to provide you with an update from our department. There are several items, projects we plan to share tonight so you will be aware as to where we're going and our next steps. Our main focus tonight is going to be on providing you with an update on the following: how well our school opening went, the progress we are making with the student ID badge program, an update on customizing our dispatch board and how it will positively impact our School Bus Hub app, a status report on where we are with our air-conditioned buses in our fleet, and finally, we want to update you on the new joint facility with the city. Let's begin with our school opening. We begin the school year with approximately 90 bus drivers short. We continue to work with Human Resources to assist with job fairs and attendance, one-stop job shops, to fill these positions, but we're pleased to announce that this year, our smoothest school year opening, our director has experienced in his 17-year tenure as director of Chesapeake Public Schools Transportation. That's exciting for us. In spite of continuing to face the vacancies, over the last 2 years, we have depended on double ups and double backs. This year, we changed how we design our routes based on the data from the last couple of years to reduce the number of double ups and double backs being due to the vacancies and having enough bus driver candidates. While it is still early in the school year, we feel these changes in the design and improvement will have experiences in our office of efficiency, which led to fewer routes being needed. It's the primary reason we had such a smooth opening. While students may be on the bus approximately 10 to 15 minutes longer and the ridership is higher, we're experiencing more on-time arrivals and departures. We are really excited about our ID badge program. Division-wide, we are close, guys. We're close to full implementation of our ID badge program in all 28 of our elementary schools, and still plan to add the secondary schools in the 2024-2025 school year. We have received and delivered printers, webcams to all the elementary schools, and our ID department has provided the vendors with the download to be used for batch printing the initial group of ID badges. The download includes student photos that will also be printed on the badge. They should be in Chesapeake within the first couple weeks of October. Once they arrive, the transportation team will prepare the cars for placing them in badge holders, attaching lanyards, and delivering them to the school, ready to be passed out to the students. In the interim, each school is working with Gigi and our IT team to provide a list of 3 staff members from their schools who will be trained to print replacements badges once they have arrived and the official date has started. Our next big one is we're also hoping to make some changes that should improve the School Bus Hub parent app. The parent app was implemented during the 2020-2021 school year. It was determined that after attempts to make adjustments to the app, it was not working as well as we wanted to, as we would have liked. It was just not working for us. So this was due to the fact that subs and bus data had to be manually entered to ensure parents were getting accurate data. With the number of vacancies and drivers we had and the time constraints to entering the data manually, oftentimes the data parents were getting was not accurate by the time they got there. Having said that, we have purchased a customized dispatch board, and we hope to have it in place by mid-October. The dispatch board will automate bus changes, which will significantly improve the data parents receive from the School Bus Hub app. As our dispatchers make the bus substitution, it will automatically update the bus information in the app, so parents will get more accurate information on their child's bus. Then we're working with the communications department as planning a media campaign to let parents know that we plan to relaunch our app in the fall. Once we have the customized dispatch board in place, we expect with this new automation in place, parents will receive data they've expected from our School Bus Hub. Now let's take a look at where we are with adding air-conditioned buses to our fleet. To date, we have received 171 regular education air-conditioned buses. Of these, we have already put 166 in service that are assigned to a driver and completing routes daily. The remaining 6 buses that we've received are being processed and will be assigned as soon as they are ready. We still have 25 additional buses that have not yet been delivered that we expect to have in place by the end of the first semester. So additionally, we have 92 special education lift buses that also have air conditioning. Approximately 67% of our current drivers, to include both regular education and special education, will have an AC air-conditioned bus to complete their routes daily, which makes us very happy, and I'm sure this will make many of our drivers happy. So we thank you for the support as we update our fleet. Our last update we would like to share with you is on the new joint maintenance facility. We have come a long way from where we began in 2018-2019 school year. As you can see from the groundbreaking ceremony pictured to the left on this slide, I am happy to report that it does look much different today, which is apparent from the photo on the opposite side of the slide. Substantial completion is expected later this school year, and we plan to relocate our entire front office staff to the new site as soon as possible, once it's released to us. The new facility will provide 12 additional preventive maintenance bays, which are desperately needed. These bays will add to the 8 preventive maintenance bays we have at our current location. That will provide us with the much needed space to conduct more preventive maintenance in-house. We at Transportation and Dr. Miller are excited. Any questions?
I don't see any questions, so thank you.
Thank you.
There being no items on the action agenda, we will now move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Cotton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just have a couple of announcements before I get into my spotlight for this evening. Chesapeake Public Schools is celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th. We have formed several partnerships to recognize these cultural contributions to our community, so look forward to many of those being shared. I'm also happy to share that the Virginia Department of Education's Chief of Staff, Dr. Jeremy Raley, is coming to visit our schools at the end of this week. And during the visit, we are excited to showcase some of the great things happening around our school district. With that, I'll get into our spotlight for this month. It's hard to believe that the first month of school is almost behind us. I want to say thank you again to everyone who had a hand in making it successful, and tonight I am proud to share some of our continued success with you. One of those huge successes came last week with the announcement from the U.S. Department of Education that E.W. Chittum Elementary School was named a 2023 National Blue Ribbon School. Chittum is one of only 7 public schools in Virginia to receive this recognition. The U.S. Department of Education recognized a total of 353 schools nationwide. Chittum's recognition was based on the school's overall academic performance or progress in closing achievement gaps among student groups on assessments. The whole staff celebrated last week with a sparkling cider reception. Congratulations to our Bears. I'm also happy to share the return of our Title I 5th graders to the NAS Oceana Air Show STEM Day. This was the first opportunity our students had to attend the exciting hands in a while, actually. We used to attend in the past, but the students this year got to return and participate in an exciting hands-on day of learning. I was happy that Dr. Walker from our school board was able to attend with me and see the smiles on our students' faces as they learned about energy, aviation, engineering, and so much more. Our academy students from Oscar Smith, Deep Creek, and Grassfield were also there to provide some of these exciting lessons to our students. Earlier in the week, our high school student journalists were also invited to the base for the Blue Angels Media Day, and they were given the opportunity to interview the flight team and crew. And here's a quick video so that you can see all the excitement.
So today we're partnered up with Oceana Air to establish a multitude of creative activities for kids.
Today was like so fun. I was flying a jet and I didn't know what to do at first, and then I got it.
The coolest part is just joining with my friends, bonding.
This is a fantastic opportunity for our students. They're just thoroughly enjoying it. It's a great time.
It's been really fun. It reminds me kind of a lot of how I was when I was a kid.
This event, it's awesome right now. It's great outside today. You get to see all these different people.
So cool. I get to see the air show. I saw all of this. I'm being interviewed right now. It's perfect.
As you can see, we had a blast. I played that to encourage the rest of you to join us next year. So if you'd like to come, we're hoping that we'll continue to add, our Title I 5th grade students participated. We want to get to where all of our 5th grade students can participate in the future. That's a goal that we're working toward. I'd like to thank all the staff members who helped coordinate the event and our military partners for their continued efforts to provide these types of high quality experiences for our students. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to Hatcher and Frey Orthodontics. They have a long history of supporting our schools, and this year is no exception. They kicked off their Teacher Wish List Awards by visiting Truett Intermediate School, where they surprised PE teacher Tyler Morgan with a gift bag and a $250 gift card to use for his classroom. As you can see, his students were pretty excited to celebrate with him. The start of the school year is always filled with so much excitement, and that was definitely evident at the first SCA citywide event this year. I was happy to host our student leaders from all 7 high schools here at the School Administration Building last week. These monthly meetings give me a great opportunity to connect with our leaders, our student leaders, and hear about their successes and challenges. The group began working with our family and community engagement team to plan for the next Teen Summit, and one of the leaders, Kiara Whiteman from Deep Creek High School, is featured on our latest episode of Amplified, the Chesapeake Public Schools podcast. I listened to it today, and she did a great job. I hope you take a moment to listen to Kiara and all the wonderful things she is doing for the Deep Creek community. To wrap up tonight, I'm so happy to share with you that just last week, members of our Career and Technical Education Department, alongside our partners from Dollar Bank, were awarded the 2023 Workforce Innovation Award in the educational category for their Worlds of Work event. As you'll probably recall, the Worlds of Work was an inaugural event for our city last October that exposed all of our 8th graders to local and regional employment opportunities. Take a look.
The Chesapeake World of Works is an interactive career fair that brings every 8th grader in the city of Chesapeake to a singular location to learn about the different job opportunities that exist right here in Hampton Roads.
We wanted to see a way in Chesapeake that we could connect our students with the variety of careers that are available right here in Hampton Roads, so they knew that there is a whole future for them right at home.
Chesapeake World of Works is unique in that students not only get an opportunity to have exposure to these trade industries, but there are opportunities for them to interact with them, whether it's through dual enrollment with TCC or it's through internships through the Hampton Roads Workforce Council. So ideally, a student can graduate from high school with an associate's degree from TCC and 2 years work employment headed right into one of our trade industries.
The World of Works Career Immersion Expo is a fantastic example of what happens when the city, the school systems, and the community partners come together to create an amazing event.
And what I'm so excited about the World of Works is it's not just a career day. It's a hands-on, interactive experience for our students where they actually get to participate in the kinds of activities they would do in that particular job. I think this is so successful because of the great partnership across our city. You know, we have the partnership with City Council through Don Carey, through the libraries with Amanda Jackson, of course, one of our industry champions, Dave Paradise.
If we want to retain and attract businesses in the Hampton Roads area, we need to ensure that we have a quality, well-trained workforce. That means everybody needs to be actively involved, whether it be through providing their time, their talent, or financial contributions. Industry plays an important role. Worlds of Work is a great example of industry coming together and showcasing the opportunities out there for our next generation of workforce.
It's a holistic approach to make sure that we maintain our success in industry, not just now, but for many, many years to come.
And board members, that's the video that they played at the award ceremony. I was with you all at the planning meeting last week. So Mrs. Edwards represented us happily at that event, and she had the whole career and technical education team with her that evening. We are going to invite all of you to come and participate in Worlds of Work this fall because we are planning to do it again. And I hope that you'll be able to join us and participate in some of those career opportunities. So this completes my spotlight for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Cotton. Last on our agenda this evening is board member items. Does any board member have an item to bring before the group? Ms. Scott?
Yes, thank you. Just 2 quick things. One, I just want to say I'm so encouraged by all the updates tonight. I wanted to give Mrs. Edwards jazz hands while she was talking about our academic achievements. I also recognize the important work that the Office of Student Support Student Conduct and Support is doing, because you're helping our students close those gaps and achieve that success, as well as transportation, because we have to get our students safely to and from school. So I just want to say, well done. You're doing fabulous, and I just continue to be so proud The second thing I wanted to talk about tonight was two of our board members and their success. We have two board members who were recently recognized by outside organizations for being under 40 years old and very successful. Fun fact, it's not Tom Mercer. 40 was a few decades ago. Just kidding. We get to celebrate his birthday next month, and I am so pumped. But there will be no candles because we love this building and we want to keep everybody safe. So and we love Tom Mercer and we don't want him to get injured. But those two board members are Dr. Brittany Walker, who's not here tonight for that reason because she's at an awards ceremony being recognized for her achievement through ODU, and Mr. McCormick, who is surprisingly under 40 years old. So anyway, I roast the people I love, so that's a fun fact about Kim Scott. But anyway, that's all I had to say tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Do we have any other board member items? I would very much like to wish on behalf of the board, Dr. Miller is celebrating a birthday later this week, and we hope that you enjoy that. And with that, we will call this meeting adjourned.